Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of basketball inside the NBA world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the craziest NBA trade deadline in NBA history. I mean, there were moves that have sent shockwaves through the entire NBA, and there's going to be some ramifications for franchises for the second half of the NBA season and for the sake of several NBA franchises after this NBA trade deadline. So, a spoiler alert in this video, I will not be covering the Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade. We covered that on episode 193 this week. You can check that out on all of our platforms. And I will not be discussing the De'Aaron Fox trade to the San Antonio Spurs. We also discussed that on episode 193. Check that out on all of our platforms. So I'll be going over the other blockbuster trades that happened, or the trades that caught my eye the most. Starting off with the trade last night between the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Miami Heat have finally traded Jimmy Butler. He's going out west to the Golden State Warriors. In exchange, the Golden State Warriors gave the Miami Heat Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, who has been passed around like a blunt in a blunt rotation because he's been a part of 4 NBA teams in the last 24 hours. But he was a part of this deal, but no longer with the Miami Heat. Kyle Anderson and a protected 2025 first-round pick. There was another team that was involved in this trade, that being the Detroit Pistons. They got Lindy Waiters and Josh Richardson in this deal. But this trade is all about the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors. So I think the Miami Heat won this trade. I think they got a good haul for a player in Jimmy Butler that no longer wanted to be a part of this Miami Heat team. And I think the fact that Pat Riley knew it wasn't best for business to give an aging Jimmy Butler that is in his late 30s or entering his late 30s a massive contract with a player that has already peaked, in my opinion. I think this was the best move. And realistically, if we didn't trade Jimmy Butler by the trade deadline, he would have left this summer. We would have got nothing for him. So the Miami Heat got a good haul in this because you get Andrew Wiggins at the small forward position, a great two-way player, can be a perfect substitution at the small forward position in the Miami Heat starting lineup for the remainder of the season and for the sake of the future. I think he's an underrated defender, and I think he fits well with the Miami Heat culture. They also got Kyle Anderson to be a part of the rotation. A protected 2025 first-round pick is huge for this upcoming NBA draft. And also today, they got Davion Mitchell from the Toronto Raptors when they traded away PJ Tucker. I think a second-round pick and some cash. So instead of rebuilding, they have retooled really smartly in Miami with this roster. They're building the roster around their young stars of Tyler Hero, who's a first-time All-Star this year, and Bam Adebayo. With the rotation, with the trades and the rotation that the Miami Heat have now, getting a 2025 protected first-round pick as well, they're a much better team than what they were in the last 24 to 48 hours. So I think the Miami Heat fleeced the Golden State Warriors and absolutely won this trade. Now, for the Golden State Warriors, I'm not moved by this trade. I mean, I felt like the Warriors got desperate. We know they wanted to get Steph Curry, another star, to play alongside after they lost Klay Thompson. They were talking about Paul George and several others to get back to go to the Golden State Warriors. Hell, they were even trying to get Kevin Durant to go back to the Bay Area. But I just feel like with the move that they made, you're going to need more in this loaded Western Conference that's got OKC, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Rockets to worry about for the second half of the NBA season and for the postseason. A big three of Steph Curry, who's 36 years of age, Draymond Green, who's 34, and Jimmy Butler, who is 35 on this current roster for the Golden State Warriors. I don't think that's good enough to make the NBA Finals or make a run out in the West. Hell, I don't even see them ever winning a championship out in the Bay with this roster. I mean, and in order to make this deal happen, you had to lock up Jimmy Butler for a 2-year deal and giving him an extension over $110 million at this particular point of Jimmy Butler's career. And Jimmy Butler is unavailable at times in the regular season. And they got to build chemistry fast because for the second half of the NBA season is coming very quickly. Jimmy Butler is going to have to grow chemistry on the court with Steph Curry and Draymond Green. I know how explosive Jimmy Butler has been. I know how vital he's been for the Miami Heat in the playoffs over the last 4 to 5 years. But if you cannot build the chemistry quickly with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the rest of this roster, that's damaged goods when you're competing out in the West against these stacked rosters. So I don't think this move makes sense to me. For the Golden State Warriors standpoint, I think they got desperate. And I don't think Jimmy Butler moves the needle for them to win a championship or give Steph Curry one more run at an NBA title before he retires. So, hey, I don't know. But I will say it is sad to see Jimmy Butler go. I mean, from a Miami Heat standpoint, from a fan standpoint, Jimmy Butler is a player that should have retired with the Miami Heat. I believe he's the third best player in NBA, third best player in Miami Heat franchise behind the greats of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade, of course, being the best player in Miami Heat franchise history. But the fact that Jimmy Butler went on some legendary runs, pushed himself all the way to the point where he should have won a ring. But fantastic performance as the playoffs. The only thing he's missing the ring. But Jimmy Butler is a player that should have retired with the Miami Heat. It's unfortunate it didn't happen. But we got to move on. Next, we seen a three-team trade between the Milwaukee Bucks, the Washington Wizards, and the New York Knicks. So the Bucks got Kyle Kuzma, Jericho Sims, and a second-round pick. The Wizards got Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a 2028 first-round pick. That is going to be a pick swap. The Knicks were also a part of this trade, getting Delon Wright and some cash. But this trade is all about the Bucks and the Wizards. Now, for the Bucks standpoint, it is sad to see Chris Middleton leave. I mean, Chris Middleton was a part of that team a few years ago when Milwaukee won the title, their first title in 40 to 50 years in their franchise's history. But over the years, Chris Middleton has been injury prone and not available when the Milwaukee Bucks need him most. And with a $93 million contract, he was eventually going to be traded. It was just a matter of when the Bucks were going to move away from Chris Middleton. So, the Bucks trading for Kyle Kuzma, this is a big swing here because you're now depending on Kyle Kuzma to step in as your third scoring option behind Giannis and Damian Lillard. Now, Kyle Kuzma is no stranger to big moments. Now, let's not forget he was a part of that Los Angeles Lakers team that did win the title in 2020. But ever since then, he has not been the same player and has not been around a championship contending team because after he left the Lakers, he's been a part of the Washington Wizards, a team that has been rebuilding and not even close to being a playoff contending team out in the East. So, and ever since then, he's developed bad habits and he's declined in in terms of scoring wise with the Washington Wizards. So, for the Wizards, this was a good trade. I mean, you get a first round pick, you get Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton will probably only be there for the second half of the NBA season, and they'll probably trade him by the NBA off season because he has the option of, especially if he opts out of his contract this summer, they can trade him and get decent value for Chris Middleton. So I think this is big for the Wizards. I think they won this trade, and it was kind of silly for the Bucks if you were going to make a move to swing on Kyle Kuzma for a third scoring option when there was better options out there before the NBA trade deadline. Now this one sticks out to me, and I can dig this one depending on the circumstances. But the Raptors and Pelicans trade, the Raptors got Brandon Ingram, and the Pelicans got Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a 2026 first-round pick, and a second-round pick. So this is interesting here. I think Brandon Ingram is a really good scorer, and I think he didn't benefit playing with this New Orleans Pelicans team. I just never thought that Brandon Ingram was the right fit for this Pelicans team. Now, the good news is if Brandon Ingram resigns during the summer, remain with the Toronto Raptors for sake of the future, yes, this could be the good step in the direction for the Toronto Raptors to build something out in the East, that being with Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and now Brandon Ingram. The bad news is Brandon Ingram leaves this summer. You just gave up a 2026 first-round pick to the New Orleans Pelicans, which is not worth it if Brandon Ingram walks. So I think if Brandon Ingram stays, that four could be something good, a good core to build around the East. If he leaves, that was a swing and a miss by the Raptors, and that puts you in a bigger hole because you lose a 2026 first-round pick and a second-round pick. But for the Pelicans standpoint, Pelicans move on from Brandon Ingram. Like I just said, he never really fit with the Pelicans team. I think they always had other wings that they probably would prefer to play in the rotation and in the starting lineup for the sake of the future. They also get a first-round pick, a 2026 first-round pick, and a second-round pick. That was really good for Brandon Ingram, a player that was probably not going to re-sign with the Pelicans anyway during this NBA offseason. So pretty good move here for the Pelicans. Now, next is the Lakers and Hornets trade. Now, the Lakers got Mark Williams from the Hornets. The Hornets in exchange, the Charlotte Hornets in exchange got Dalton Knecht. They got Cam Reddish. 2031 Lakers unprotected first round pick. Now, I like this move for the Lakers. I think Mark Williams has potential. I've seen the potential that he had out in Charlotte at the center position. I think he could be a good rim protector. I think he's a solid defender when he wants to sit down and play defense or when he's blocking shots. I think Mark Williams has the potential to be the big man that the Lakers need to fulfill the position after Anthony Davis was traded in order to get Luka Doncic. So now, for the second half of the NBA season, the Lakers are looking to contend. They got LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Mark Williams. But the thing about Mark Williams is he has the potential, and this could be a move to make Luka Doncic happy to play with the pick-and-roll game for the sake of the future out in LA. However, Mark Williams' health is a big question moving forward because this is a player that's only on pace to play 40 to 45 games this season, and he needs to learn he needs more experience of being a defensive threat. If you're going to be a big man, you got to be a better defender out in the court. And I just gave him praise for being a good rim protector, but you got to put it all together. You got to be consistent. You got to be healthy on the court because the Lakers are definitely going to be depending on him if they want to go out on a deep run in the Western Conference. So I think this move has potential. I like the move, but Mark Williams has to put it all together. And I think learning from a great like LeBron James and LeBron James facilitating the offense of the court. Him and Luka will go back and forth doing that. But I think LeBron James is going to help groom Mark Williams to being the player that the Lakers hope that he can be for the sake of the future. But yeah, also with the decent depth that they had, I think the Lakers have. I think they could push for a run in the West. But final trade I'll talk about here was the Cavs and the Hawks. Now this one was nearly at the buzzer today, around 2 o'clock. This one was kind of crazy. The Cavs acquired DeAndre Hunter from the Hawks. In exchange, the Cavaliers traded Caris LeVert, Georges Niang, and 3 second-round picks and 2 pick swaps. So, the Cavs won this trade. I mean, they get DeAndre Hunter, a small forward who is athletic, having the best year of his NBA career thus far, 19 points per game. And the only thing that was missing from this Cleveland Cavaliers starting five was a small forward. And now all the keys have been unlocked for this Cleveland Cavaliers team that has been the top team in the Eastern Conference all year long. You got in their starting five, this is a dangerous starting five. And when they develop DeAndre Hunter and get more comfortable with him in the lineup and him being out in the court, getting the experience with the guys out in Cleveland, they have a legitimate threat to go on a championship run as soon as possible because you have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and now DeAndre Hunter. 3 out of 5 of those players I just said are all-stars this year. So the Cavs mean business, and they're definitely pushing for an NBA title. Meanwhile, the Hawks traded him to get something. They traded DeAndre Hunter to get something because he was going to be an upcoming free agent this summer, and I don't think they wanted to pay him the money. But damn, I feel for Trae Young, and I think Trae Young's going to want out of Atlanta as soon as possible after this NBA season because they're not putting him in a rightful position to win. You can't waste your prime years in Atlanta when the team's not making you a priority or to go win a championship now. They don't have time to build. Trae Young is in the prime of his career. They should be building and getting championship pieces instead of giving away pieces to contending teams. I think Trae Young is eventually going to have to pull the plug here. And I think he's going to really request a trade by as early as this summer to get away from the Atlanta Falcons. Not the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Hawks. So he doesn't waste his prime years with a team that does not have any intention to being a contending team. But that is my thoughts on the craziest NBA trade deadline in NBA history. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.